Actually, what is an infarct? Infarct is an area of ischemic necrosis. Ischemic necrosis means, ischemia means low blood supply to that area. Necrosis means death of the tissue. So whenever there is low blood supply to that area, the tissue in that area becomes dead, and it forms a occlusion there. That is, it doesn't allow the flow of the blood. This is nothing but causing an infarct, and it is caused by the occlusion of either arterial supply or venous supply. That is on the both side. Maybe it may be on the venous side or arterial side, but the arterial side is the most common side. In the venous side, we call it as congestion. So why we will call it as congestion, all those things, let us learn. And the tissue infarction is the most common and extremely important cause of the clinical illness, because in tissues, as the blood stops, it doesn't allow the continuous flow of the blood on either side of the vein or artery, so it leads to a major cause of illness. So roughly about 40% of all deaths are related to this, mainly cardiovascular disease. If this infarction takes place in our cerebrum, this is known as cerebral infarction. And the clinical settings in the bowel infarction related one is the pulmonary infarction, that is the infarction taking place in the lungs. So this is causing the it is mainly in the clinical settings in bowel infarction, and the bowel infarction is frequently fatal and ischemic necrosis of extremities, that is gangrene. It can be seen mainly in the diabetic people, and nearly all these infarcts are from the thrombotic or embolic arterial occlusions. So what is thrombosis? Thrombosis means nothing but it is mainly formed of platelets. It is forming an occlusion in an artery or a vein. So this thrombosis, when it travels to distant places, then it is known as embolic. So this embolic arterial occlusion is nothing but causing the infarcts in different area. So occasionally these infarcts may be due to some other mechanisms also, like local vasospasm, that is spasms formed in vessels, and also hemorrhage into an erythematous plaque, and also sometimes or extrinsic vessel pressure. So extrinsic vessel compression is mainly by tumors. So if there is any tumor or necrotic factors in the area, it leads to the compression of the vessels, leading to formation of an infarct. And also some rarer causes like torsion of vessel. So what is this torsion of vessel? It is also like somewhat narrowing of the vessel. It is mainly seen in a testicular torsion or the bowel volvulus. And traumatic rupture, because of trauma, or the vascular compromise by the edema. So these all are and this vascular compromise of edema, especially in the anterior compartment of our leg, leading to damage of some of our muscles, and also by the entrapment in the hernial sac. So although venous thrombosis is also a cause of infarction, but more common outcome is just congestion. Why this takes place? Actually, why it is called as congestion in venous side, but it is called as infarction in arterial side. Now let us understand. In venous side, it is called as congestion because the venous side also has some bypass artery vessels around it, so that if even the occlusion is only in the venous side of one particular vein, the other veins are also supplying the outflow of the blood. So it doesn't cause much harm to the venous side. So the venous side, it is known as just congestion. You can understand the congestion meaning. Congestion means just there is no complete obstruction of the flow of blood. Only some part is not able to move. So it is congestion in the venous side, whereas it is infarction in the arterial side. So this difference we need to understand. And next, you can see here the vascular outfit and improves the arterial inflow. Infarcts caused by the venous thrombosis are more likely organs in a single efferent vein. So sometimes the infarct, so this is very important example. So there is also an infarct in the venous side, and this is known as venous infarct, which mainly takes place in organs which have only single efferent vein. So here you can take an example of a testis and ovary which has only the single efferent vein. And coming to the morphology, so how the infarct looks like. So this infarct may be according to color, like red color because of blood flow there, and white color. So in the red infarcts, actually it is because of having some reasons. That is, first one, the venous occlusion. Example, you can take ovary. So what happens, already you know about venous side occlusion. So if in the venous occlusion, as there are other bypass vessels along it, the blood flows there and forms a red color. So it is red infarct, one reason. And the next reason, in the loose tissues, example in lungs, where the blood can collect in infarcted zone. Because in lungs, actually lungs has a dual supply, so here also the blood may enter and cause a red infarct. And one more reason, you can take tissues with dual circulation, as I mentioned above. As dual circulation, you know that they have other bypass vessels, so the blood can easily flow, and it also causes a red infarct. Example again, lungs, small intestine. In small intestine also the same case. This allows the blood flow from an unabrupted structure, parallel supply in the necrotic zone. And one more cause is in tissues previously congested by sluggish venous outflow. So this also now I think you can understand. So whenever there is congestion, already there is before congestion. So because if this congestion is more, it allows only some blood to flow, that is known as sluggish venous flow. So only when there is slow outflow of venous, the blood, you know, it gets like stasis over there, it gets accumulated there and cause a red infarct. So this you can understand. And next, when flow is re-established to a site of previous arterial occlusion. So already there is an arterial occlusion and the re-establishment of flow. This example you can take of angioplasty of an arterial obstruction. So whenever we do the angioplasty to the arterial obstruction, we allow the new blood to flow there. So already there is an obstruction and we are allowing the blood flow there. So this causes again a red infarct. And next, let us see what is white infarct. White infarct is, as the name says, you can understand, white means palish color. So this white infarct occurs mainly in the arterial occlusions in the solid organs. In solid organs, example which is having only end arterial circulation, not branch circulation. End arterial circulation means only one side circulation. So here it appears white occlusion. So here there are no more chances of getting accumulation of blood, so it doesn't appear red, it appears only white. Here examples you can take heart, spleen, kidney. These are all the organs which are having only one side end arterial circulation. And where tissues density limits, and one more thing important, here their density is more. As the density is more, it doesn't allow the neighboring blood to enter into this and appears white in color. So this is an example. And next, coming to the infarcts, are usually wedge shape. Wedge shape means just like wedge, you can understand a wedge shape like this is a three-dimensional shape like this. So the wedge shape, and mainly the apex is towards the side of occlusion. So where the blood flow is stopped, at that side only this apex is present and the base is present towards the other side. And sometimes if this base is present towards the serosal surface, and it can be overlying the fibrinous exudate sometimes. So the acute infarcts are poorly defined and slightly hemorrhagic. So this is important. Sometimes the acute infarct are poorly defined and they're slightly hemorrhagic, that is they are leaky blood towards the infarct site. And with the time the margins tend to become better defined by a narrow rim of congestion attributed. And so now imagine here's the wedge shape, and here the borders are somewhat like dense shape because of an inflammation formed over there. You know, whenever there is an infarction, also our body knows it's something like a foreign particle and it tries to enclose it over here. So the inflammatory cells come and form a border over this infarct. And next we have infarcts are resulting from the arterial occlusions without a dual blood supply. So the infarcts from the arterial occlusion in organs without the dual blood supply. So you can understand where there is no dual blood supply, only one end arterial supply, so they look whitish color. So become progressively paler and more sharply defined as we discussed. So in the lung, hemorrhagic infarcts are the rule. In lung there is a rule of extravasation red cells in the hemorrhagic infarcts are phagocytosed by macrophages. We know it in hemorrhage. So here these macrophages convert the iron into hemosiderin. So this hemosiderin gives a grossly impart of color. Extensively hemorrhage can leave a firm brown residuum. So it gives a brownish color in the histological appearances. And the dominant histological characteristics of an infarction is called the ischemic coagulation necrosis, as we discussed in our first chapter. So it's important to recall this vascular occlusion has occurred shortly. So this vascular occlusion takes place only for minutes to hours before the death of the person, but no histological changes are evident. In a living person, it takes about 4 to 12 hours for the tissue to show the perfect necrosis. So the acute inflammation is present along the margins of the infarct within a few hours and is usually well defined within 1 to 2 days. So what they are saying, the necrosis, that is the infarct can be seen only after 4 to 12 hours in a living person, and the inflammation that is around this as a margin, it can be appeared only after 1 to 2 days. So this inflammatory response is followed by the reparative response, that is formation of scars. Always remember the infarct, you can see it, the most infarcts are ultimately replaced by the scar. The inflammation reaction is taking place for our use. So whenever the inflammation reaction takes place, next it converts into scar and the repairing process starts. So it's preserved margins. And one more thing, the parenchymal cells and stromal cells. First we need to know what they are. The parenchymal cells are the cells which are present only particularly to that organ. Example, hepatocytes in liver, etc. And the stromal cell are the supporting cells. So here, in stable and labile tissues, the parenchymal cells are regeneration can occur at the periphery, where underlying the stromal architecture, that is in the support of them, they form and they are preserved. So however, most infarcts are ultimately replaced by the scar. So this is very important. And the brain is an exception to this, because in the brain the infarction is usually liquefied to necrosis but not the solid necrosis. So that. And next, septic infarctions. The septic infarctions are mainly takes place in, because example you can take the cardiac valve vegetations. The cardiac valve, the valve vegetation, extra vegetations grow and they just embolize like a thrombosis and occlude the other valve, other vessels. So when microbes seed the necrotic tissue. And one more example is when microbes seed the necrotic tissue. So in these cases, the infection is actually converted into an abscess. So in septic infarcts, the infarct is converted into abscess. And in ischemic, in other infarcts, the most infarcts are ultimately replaced by scar in case of inflammation to repair process. So the abscess with the corresponding greater inflammatory response. So this eventually sequence organization follows the pattern. And factors which are influencing this development of an infarct are, so we have the first factor is the nature of the vascular supply. So based on the vascular supply, they are divided into on the availability of alternative. If there is alternative blood supply, based on this, the infarct should be formed or not. It is based on that. And as already the lungs have dual pulmonary bronchial artery supply, pulmonary and also a bronchial artery supply provides the protection from the thromboembolism, because it's already having alternate supply, so there are lesser chances to form the infarct. And also in liver, it has dual hepatic artery and portal vein circulation. So and also in hand and forearm there are dual radial and ulnar arterial supply. So all these are resistant to infarction. So there are almost no chances to form an infarct because of dual supply. But its renal and splenic are in high risk, because they are only end arterial, only one artery, so there are no other compensatories to it. So there is a chance here. Example, vascular obstruction generally causes the tissue death. And next, the rate of occlusion development. So how much the occlusion is developed, based on that also. Here you can see slowly developing occlusions are less likely to cause, because you can guess it, as occlusions are forming slowly, they have more time to expose to the chances of getting well again. For example, you can take small interarterial anastomosis, which normally have the minimal functional flow, interconnect the three major coronary arteries in the heart. So if one of the coronary arteries is only slowly occluded, that is by an encroaching atherosclerotic plaque, the flow within this collateral circulation may increase the sufficiency to prevent the infarction, even though largest coronary artery is eventually occluded. So even though largest coronary artery is occluded, these all small branches give the anastomosis, so that it has the low rate of occlusion. So depending on the time also, that is if it is slow, it has more pathways to get less chances to get occluded. And next, coming to other is vulnerable in hypoxia. So neurons undergo the irreversible damage when deprived of their blood supply for only 3 to 4 minutes. So neurons are highly sensitive to the blood supply. If they are lacking the blood supply only for 3 to 4 minutes, they may infarct. And also the myocardial cells, though harder than neurons, but they are also sensitive. Up to only 20 to 30 minutes, they may infarct, causing ischemia. But the fibroblasts are the strongest, that they can remain viable even after many hours of ischemia. And next, coming to the oxygen content of the blood. So the partial obstruction of a small vessel would be without effect in otherwise normal individuals, might cause infarction in anemic or cyanotic. So actually oxygen content of the blood you know, in anemic and cyanotic patients, as there is less oxygen, so even a small normal infarct in a it's just a normal thing to a normal patient, but here in anemic and cyanotic patient it may cause the infarct. So this is all about infarction.